In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we're expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at advertise@k98talk.org. The leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
Rick Robinson. I'm the host of America Off the Rails, and yeah, we're a little bit behind schedule today. What can I say? Still working some kinks out in the new command center out here. Now, at this point, we are going to go ahead and do the usual and give a shout out to the affiliates just so we can make sure everybody gets their due recognition. I want to start with the first group to add us, which was AMFM247.com, where this show can be heard every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on 8 of their low-power affiliates, as well as their Live 365 stream. Also want to mention the network that I myself built, the Spark Radio Network, that now has its own Live 365 streaming platform. We're still working the kinks out on that one, so for now it will basically be classic episodes that we've put together that air 24/7. Hopefully maybe bring some more folks in over to the live stuff, but we shall see. And then, of course, K98Talk.com, where I am the programming director, and also it is owned by a friend of mine who basically saw my crazy idea of making an internet-based radio station for talk radio and decided he wanted to get on board. So that's the stuff that started it all, not necessarily in the right order. Then, of course, as we've grown, the show, as well as other shows on my network, have actually expanded out. So now we're on SHR Media, where the show can be heard every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern in the morning. Then we have Leading Edge Radio Network, where the show can be heard every Monday through Friday at 7 Central, 8 Eastern in the morning. Then we have Red State Talk Radio, where the show can be heard every Sunday morning at, oh my God, it's early, 6 a.m. Eastern, 5 Central. Have been doing a first run broadcast over there, not necessarily always a live show, but we try to give you new content over that way. So if you are hearing us over here this way for the first time, welcome aboard. And then, of course, we have High Point Radio out of Montauk, New Jersey, another low-power terrestrial station where this show can be heard 5 nights a week. And then we have WNJC 1360 as our newest affiliate to be added. Been over there for about a month now, thoroughly enjoying it. We'll be putting together an episode to go over there on Thanksgiving, even though I will be, of course, enjoying time with my family. So for all of you stuck driving, traveling around, all the crazy stuff that everybody usually does on Thanksgiving, if you happen to be in the Philadelphia area, make sure you turn on WNJC 1360 at 2 Eastern. You can catch yours truly. Maybe I'll give you a Thanksgiving shout-out. But anyway, that does pretty much wrap up all of the affiliates for the streams. We also have shows available through several podcast branches. That would be places like FM Player, TuneIn, Stitcher, and also, let's not forget the first one to ever pick us up, which was a big deal, where we were actually one of the first shows to be picked up by iHeart, at least from my understanding, when that first became an option. So this show's been on iHeart now almost since its inception. Show's been going now for 4 years. It's been on iHeart for, I believe, nearly 3. But anyway, so there are plenty of places that you can catch the show. Also, the show does have its own Android app, so if you happen to have a smartphone, you want to take the show anywhere, that is perfectly fine. You can put America Off the Rails in quotation marks in the Google Play Store. The app is free, so take us anywhere. That is not a problem for me at all, obviously. All right, so at this point, we are going to go ahead and take a really quick break, pay some bills, and maybe I'll track down a cough drop while I'm gone. Don't know what happened, because that was not happening until I rolled the show. Anyway, we'll be right back, folks. Don't go away. All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you, so make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome to the...
Hey folks, Slickery Trigger here. I'd like to take a minute to tell you about Rebel Road Tactical. As a defensive pistol instructor, I've had the opportunity to observe many different holster designs and configurations. And one thing is clear. Many of my students won't carry a pistol. Or worse, they'll carry one without a holster at all. Holster designers aren't making holsters for normal people. It seems that most holsters are either an expensive piece of gear designed for Rambo or a piece that doesn't fit or function the way real people need it to fit and function. So, like any good Texan, I decided to learn to form kydex and design one myself, one that would fit the needs of average people. The result is the Rebel Road Tactical CRT Modular. The CRT stands for Carry, Range, and Training. Its thin and lightweight curved design minimizes printing and is adjustable to fit just right for superior comfort and function. Check us out after the show at rebelroadconcealed.blogspot.com.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Don't expect us to admit a mistake. We'll pay an awful election debts to those who will take. Attorney General's lying even while...
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
All right, folks. Well, again, happy Tuesday evening. This will be an abbreviated schedule for me this week. So in case I don't get a chance to see you or talk to you again, because I know a lot of us are going to be busy, hectic, crazy week getting ready for the holidays, I want to take a second and wish every single one of you that take the time to tune in with me every day and every week, week after week, for the last several years as the audience continues to grow and increase. All of you matter to me more than you'll ever know, and I just want to take a moment to say happy Thanksgiving to each and every one of you. And unfortunately, that will be about the most positive moment of the show. It has not been a good day, especially not if you're an American, because there are so many things that are just going on, and you're just scratching your head going, when did the whole world go crazy, and how did we miss it? We have lots of stuff to talk about today. Chief among them, we might as well just go ahead and dive right in. For the last several weeks, those of us that have, had the whole mindset of maybe we should put the brakes on the whole refugee thing till we figure out how to do a better job of screening them and all of the other things, we're called racists and xenophobes because, we're like, hey, and this is the same point I've made over and over again, but I'm going to use it again just in case there's somebody new listening for the first time. Saying that because there's a slight chance that someone may do us harm is not a good reason to not accept refugees would be akin to, say, the next time Tyson does a recall of their chicken because they've had one random sampling with E. coli, and they pull an entire batch based on that one random sampling. If that logically makes sense, because, simplest answer is often the right one, Occam's razor. So the simple fact of the matter is when there is an anomaly, they know that there are likely other anomalies. So therefore, when possible, when they do those type of tests, they basically just pull the whole batch if something goes wrong. So we've already basically been told by ISIS, by the very people that want to kill us, that they're going to make sure that they smuggle folks in with the refugee group. Pardon me, but wouldn't that be a lot like finding an anomaly in your testing when you're looking at batches of chicken? And why are we still going to continue to put this batch of chicken in packages and ship it across the country just to have to be dealt with later when people start dying? Good news is I found a cough trap. Bad news is it doesn't seem like it's working very well. All right, so anyway, back to what we were talking about before. So why do I bring this up again, you might ask? Because for those of you that listen a lot, I've brought up this point several times in the last few shows. It's because it keeps getting crazier and crazier. The newest thing that we're being told is that we as Republicans and conservatives should support and enforce a bill that they're trying to get passed now that would keep terrorists from being able to get weaponry. Sounds great on the face of it, right? But wait a minute, weren't we just basically spoon-fed the idea that there's no way that terrorists are going to get in with this group of refugees? So why is this bill suddenly now of utmost importance? The other question is, who decides what or who is a terrorist? We have people that listen to this show that would likely be called terrorists. Heck, there have probably been more than once I've probably been called a terrorist, based on the things that I've said while broadcasting. Doesn't mean that I am. Also doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not. At least not from somebody else's perspective. But that's not really the point now, is it? The point is, when we start putting these type of laws in place and these type of labels in place, the only people that are eventually going to suffer from it are going to be us. Because when you start saying, well, people who are doing these type of things shouldn't be able to have access to weaponry, and it's something as ambiguous as being able to be called a terrorist, there's a problem. Most terrorists aren't actually ever even charged with crimes. If you really look at the gist of it, especially nowadays, because they're just basically, you've been accused of acts of terrorism against the United States, you now no longer have the right to an attorney, and you're going to go to Guantanamo Bay. I'd be a Patriot Act. One of the things I've been railing about the entire time and telling everybody what a bad idea it was. Even as a conservative, saying, this is not a good idea. So now we have a whole other group of folks in charge, and far be it from that particular group of folks to ever try to squander the ability to take a mass tragedy event, much as the one in Paris, and try to turn it to their political benefit. These are the same people that have wanted guns banned now basically since the day the gun was created, and now they want to basically use this as an excuse to say, hey, you should be for this. We're going to make sure that terrorists can't get weapons. Last time I checked, most terrorists don't get weapons legally. So these law restrictions, number one, are pointless because most criminals don't follow the law to get their weapons. Number two, which one is it? Obama administration? Are your background checks and border checks and everything else that has to do with the refugee situation so completely strenuous that nobody can get through? Or are you so afraid that somebody's going to be able to get through and get a weapon that we need to hurry up and pass this bill? Because you can't have it both ways. It's got to be one or the other. Either you're confident in the programs that you have in place to stop terrorists from being able to make it into this country, no matter the circumstances, or you are not. I can personally tell you with 100% assurity that I am not comfortable with the programs that you, Mr. President, and your administration have in place to stop terrorists from getting into this country. The fact that you are now so quick and swift to try to ram this bill down everybody's throat proves to me that, one, you are a political opportunist. Nothing new there. Everybody that's been paying attention for the last 7 years knows that. But also at the same time, you are an idiot. Because you're basically making your own argument moot when you say, oh, this is good, you guys should pass this because then terrorists can't get weapons. But according to your own words, Mr. President, terrorists shouldn't be able to and can't get into this country. So why do we need the redundancy? Because last time I checked, I don't think if you admit to being a terrorist, you're supposed to be able to legally buy a gun. Just pointing that out. And no, before anybody asks me, no, there's not a little checkbox on a background form that says, have you thought of or ever committed any acts of terrorism within the borders of the United States? First of all, if you're dumb enough to answer yes to that question, you deserve whatever they're going to give to you. But that's my thought as far as that particular issue is, Mr. President, you can't have it both ways. It can't be that your programs are so stringent that nobody has to worry about any terrorists getting through, while at the same time you're trying to force conservatives to react with our feels and say, hey, this is something we can actually get behind. Let's give a little something. Maybe we can get it later. The thing is, I can already hear Eddie Munster, aka our newest Speaker of the House, Mr. Paul Ryan, trying to cut a deal because it's what he does, and it's what he will continue to do. We now have Orangey Orange 2.0. Except now he looks like a character from a 50s sitcom. Fun times we live in, folks. Fun times indeed. Alright, so speaking of fun times, there's been an interesting development over the day. So we've got a couple of clips about a clip about that. Or actually, you know what? This one kind of fits in with what we're talking about now, because let's not forget how well contained ISIS is, right? ISIS is contained. Nothing to worry about here in America, nothing to worry about for Americans, and then we hear this.
CBS News senior security contributor Michael Morrell is a former CIA deputy director. Michael, good morning.
Good morning.
How serious should we take these travel alerts?
So the one overseas, right, it's obvious that we need to take that very seriously given what happened in Paris and what ISIS's capability is now in Western Europe. Here at home, I do think we need to think seriously about a possible attack over the holidays for two reasons. ISIS has thousands of followers here in the United States. The FBI knows that. They've now been incentivized by what happened in Paris to try to do something here. And we know that those same people, right, were focused on the 4th of July. So you'd think they'd still be focused on a holiday period.
If we had a attack like took place in Paris, what would that change?
So, Charlie, I think this is a fundamental question that should be grappled with in Situation Room. And that question is, if we had a Paris-style attack in New York or Washington, what would our policy then be vis-a-vis ISIS? And then a second question is, okay, if that would be our policy the day after, why isn't that our policy the day before? That's the fundamental lesson learned from 9/11, from September 11th.
In fact, that's the question we asked when we saw the bombing of the oil delivery outside of Raqqa.
Right, and that's all rules of engagement, right?
So how good are they, Mike, really, when you think about it? From the outside looking in, they seem sophisticated, they seem organized, they seem to have a high degree of intelligence.
So it's a great question, and it's counterintuitive, right? Because they seem, right, when they have a successful attack, they seem that way. But the vast majority of terrorists are not particularly intelligent, they're not particularly sophisticated, they make a lot of mistakes. The Mohammed Attas of the world, right, the ground commander from 9/11, or the Khalid Sheikh Mohammeds, the masterminds, those kind of guys are very rare.
But the point is they're willing to die.
Yes.
Let's talk about the breaking news this morning, this Russian...
All right, so we'll get back to the Russian plane that they were alluding to in a second, because I have another clip about that. But I want you to pay very close attention to several different things they pointed out, because, I'm sorry. I thought the president had told us that ISIS was contained, so why should we be worrying about traveling abroad if ISIS is contained? We have them in their little landmass that they've procured and proclaimed as their own, so why should we be concerned? Because our president is a liar. There's not a nice way to say this anymore, folks. He is blatantly lying to the American people. Not only is he lying to the American people, there are now stories that are coming out that I don't know if it's under his direction or if someone else that is working with those intelligence briefings thinks it's a great idea, but they're leaving things out. And I don't know if it's because it's things that he doesn't want to hear with his morning cup of joe, or if it's because never mind. I was about to say something really, really, really crass, so I'm just going to stop right there. But when we have a commander-in-chief who has done everything that he can to do everything short of aid and abet the enemy, I want to know why he's still our commander-in-chief. For God's sake, we impeached Bill Clinton for lying about getting a blowjob in the White House. Let's not pull any punches, folks. That's what he got impeached for. He could have stood up in front of God and country and said, this is a private matter and I will address it between myself and my wife, and I will not have this discussion in a Senate subcommittee. It will not happen on the Senate floor. It will not happen on the floor of the House. It's not going to happen here. It will happen with my wife. That would have been enough for me, because he doesn't have to say, hey, I got a blowjob in the Oval Office, for him to say, hey, you know what? This is a private matter between myself and my wife and will not be addressed in public. Pretty simple way to get around that. He chose not to do that. Instead, he started busting out with, I've never had sexual relations with this woman. And no, that was not that was a cigar in her mouth. No, he didn't really say that, but still. The whole point is, we impeached a man for lying about what he did in the Oval Office. We have a man who told us from day one what he was going to do and how he was going to do it, and he's doing it, and nobody is saying a word. We're standing around watching, wringing our hands, going, I guess he was serious. Seems pretty serious to me. Because he's done everything that he said he was going to do. He's in the process of doing an end run around Congress to get Gitmo closed before he leaves office, because he promised it was going to happen. And guess what happens when they close Gitmo? They're going to come here. Here, on our soil. Here. We're going to have to deal with them. I have a problem with this. I have a problem with them telling me that ISIS is contained, while at the same time an ex-CIA analyst admits that we have people in this country that are affiliated with ISIS that want to do us harm. But Mr. President, your screening program is so stringent and so wonderful and so fantabulous, no terrorist could ever get in. Boston bombing anyone? This is my point. Why do we need to take the risk? I said this last week, I'm going to say it again. When all you bleeding heart, tree-hugging, liberal hippies get off your butts and unlock your doors and your windows at night and let anybody that wants to come into your house come in, eat your food, take your clothes, whatever that they want to do, then you can tell me how we need to run our country. But until you stop taking precautions for your own family, stop telling me we don't need to take precautions for the country. It's pretty much common sense. Can I just say that one more time in case somebody wasn't paying attention? It's pretty much common sense. We lock our doors and our windows at night because we don't know who's going to come in with the worst of intentions. We have a secure border, or we should have a secure border, because we don't know what the intentions of the outside world are, and we want to protect ourselves. Why is that so wrong? Every other country on the freaking planet gets to decide what they want to do with their own borders. We can't do that, or suddenly we've turned our back on the American ideal, which is crap. Nobody's saying you can't come here. We're saying if you want to come here, you need to follow the proper process. This president doesn't want that to happen. Oh, and before anybody keeps jumping on he's really on fire for Obama tonight, let's not forget the Republicans want the illegal immigrants just as much as the Democrats do. They just want them for different reasons. the Democrats, much like Johnson, who was key in the passing of the Civil Rights Amendments, knew that if he could get that to happen, that he would have the black voting bloc basically from now till eternity, which is what has basically happened, whether they want to admit it or not. The Democrats are looking for more votes. So the more illegal immigrants they can get in here and eventually get them, housing, food assistance, welfare, voting rights, all of those fun things, they know that, hey, we're the ones that gave you all this stuff, so vote for us and we'll give you some more. Works out real well for them. But then the same side that's railing against it, saying that we need to fix the border, we need to build the fence. Anybody remember John McCain during his most recent re-election? Before this one, please, for the love of God, let Kelly Ward unseat John McCain. But does anybody remember when his famous lines up until the election were, vote for me and I'll finish the fence? Because the border is important to Arizonans, it's important to me. Until he got elected again, then it became what fence? That's my point. They tell you what you want to hear to get you to pull the lever, but they all secretly pretty much want the same thing. This is my problem. This is my conundrum. It has been for a while. Politics is a brand war. Republicans are Coke. Democrats are Pepsi. But they're both still soda. And both will kill you. I'm just saying. I'm a little bitter today. I've cut way back on the caffeine, so I'm going through a little bit of a system shock. But anyway, so it's one of those things, folks, where you really got to pay attention to figure out exactly what's going on. And speaking of got to pay attention to figure out exactly what's going on, it is about time for us to go ahead and take our break for the bottom of the hour. And then when we come back, we will actually talk about this recent downing of the downing from what is now officially about to be yesterday on the East Coast of a Russian fighter jet in Turkey. But we will be right back here in just a couple of minutes. Alright, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
The wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome to the
Wake up, America.
The biggest threat in those days were from factions seizing control of the governing apparatus and making decisions that were in their interests. Today, we call factions political parties. George Washington himself warned the nation about the dangers of factions in his farewell address.
Office hours with Dr. 8, 3 p.m. on Sundays, K98 Talk. We've got something to say to you, America.
The staff of K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network is proud to announce that our very own Rowdy Rick Robinson has been selected as one of the top conservative talk show hosts in the nation for his program, America Off the Rails. Again, congratulations to Rowdy Rick Robinson for a job well done and another reason to stay connected to K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. The With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
We're live on K98Talk.com, K98Talk.org, and the Spark Radio Network, where this show will be heard at a later time, because right now it is a streaming service, but it is not a simulcast service quite yet. We're working that out later. But so we are still live, and as promised, we will actually be talking about the jet part. Sorry, about lost what I was trying to say there. But yeah, the Turkey shot down a Russian jet early this morning. Have some sound clips about that. We're going to start with a different one first, and then get the other one queued up to where it was. So we're going to play this one first.
We're following breaking news in the air war against ISIS. NATO member Turkey says it shot down a Russian warplane flying from Syria that violated Turkish airspace. Video shows the fighter jet on fire before it crashed into mountains. Smoke rises over the ridge.
Now, Turkey says the plane ignored repeated warnings. Moscow denies that. The U.S. has sent a drone to search for wreckage. Charlie D'Agata is following this breaking story from London. Charlie, good morning.
Good morning. The Turkish military said they gave 10 warnings over the course of 5 minutes that the Russian warplane was flying over its airspace. They said they got no reply. And that's when Turkish F-16 fighter jets opened fire. Video shot from below shows the Russian warplane plummeting toward the ground in flames before impact. At least one parachute was seen descending after the strike. Unverified video posted by Syrian rebels from the area appears to show a motionless Russian crewman. The rebels say he's dead, though it's unclear, if true, whether he died in the initial strike or whether he was killed in crossfire on the ground. Russian helicopters were then seen flying over the area of the crash in an apparent search and rescue operation for its lost crew. The Russian Defense Ministry confirmed that one of its Su-24 fighter jets was downed by ground fire, but insisted the plane remained in Syrian territory. The Turkish government released these radar images shortly after the incident, the red line showing the movements of the downed jet, the Turks saying it clearly shows the jet briefly crossed into their airspace. The region is filled with Syrian rebels who are ethnic Turks, and Turkey has bitterly criticized the Russians for the bombardment of the area in its campaign in Syria. A U.S. official confirms to CBS News that the Russian plane was in Turkish airspace. It was close, but it was in Turkish airspace. Now, the downing of a fighter jet not only underlines the fact that U.S. aircraft are flying in very crowded skies over Syria, Russia and Turkey are on opposite sides. Russia backs the Assad regime, Turkey, the rebels that Russia has been bombing. Turkey is also a NATO ally. The Kremlin has called it a very serious incident, and NATO is calling for an emergency meeting this afternoon. Gail?
Thank you, Charlie D'Agata, reporting from London.
All right, so there we have that clip. We have another one that actually was brushed up with the first one that I ran in regards to the, no travel zones and how Americans should fear for their safety. But at the same time, fear for your safety abroad, but bring these people here. But anyway, they actually changed topics right towards the end, so we're going to play the rest of that clip because it dovetails into that last one we just played.
Jet downed by Turkey. How significant is that?
Right. So I think it's significant in the sense that the fundamental problem that we have to solve to go after ISIS in Syria is Assad. Right? There's got to be some sort of an agreement among all the players in what happens to him, right? So that we can focus the Syrian army on ISIS. This complicates that because Russia is on one side of that, right, which is Assad gets to stay, and Turkey's on the other side. Assad's got to go right now. So it complicates that discussion.
How will they settle that?
Through negotiations, right, through sitting around the table and talking. I think that's going to be the main issue discussed today between the president and French President Hollande.
Michael Morell, thank you.
Welcome.
And Michael is staying to answer your questions on ISIS and national security. You can join the conversation right now on our Facebook page. That's at facebook.com/CBS This Morning.
All right, so there you hear their take on it, which is basically more of the same information. Now, here's my problem with all of this. This is another grand example of what happens when America, instead of taking a leading role, is leading from behind. We have always been the folks out front, basically being not only the police force of the world, but also basically the traffic cops of the world, telling people where they need to go, what they need to do. And it's not because we're these smarty pants, know-it-all type people. It's because somebody's got to be the ones to do it. And now we're seeing, now that we're not, suddenly Russia is sensing the fact that we're backing off of the world stage and desperately trying to reassert themselves. My issue, and this was brought up earlier today, and I honestly don't have an answer, and I didn't then, is the fact that we know that Putin, former KGB, now FSB, now president of Russia, is trying to restore Russia to its former glory. And it was brought to my attention earlier in chat room during one of the other shows, is that necessarily a bad thing? Because if you were the American president, wouldn't you be doing everything that you could to restore the country to its former glory? While the answer to that question is yes, our driving force when we get down to it about what it is that makes up our country is much different than the driving force behind the USSR. And it's not necessarily that Putin is trying to reform Russia, the individual country, and return it to its former glory. I think he's seriously trying to resurrect the USSR, and I'm sadly starting to think that he's going to succeed. We've basically allowed him to annex the Ukraine without necessarily annexing the Ukraine. He's now taking up the leadership role in the conflicts in the Middle East. Until now a NATO ally, which we are part of, has shot down a Russian plane when the last I checked, I thought Russia was pretty much the only country over there doing the only country doing anything over there about the extremists. So I wonder what Turkey's actual rationalization was for shooting down the Russian plane. But that's probably one of those things that we're never really honestly going to know. But it doesn't change the fact that we now find ourselves in a conundrum. Because, here's the thing. After the Paris attack, nearly, 2 weeks ago? Everybody pointed out how this was an attack on a NATO ally and a NATO country. So there must be consequences, there must be a response, and there must be partnership from the NATO countries to get this done. Well, so now what? Because Russia's about to go try to kick Turkey's rear end. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but Putin is not going to let somebody bloody his nose without knocking them on their ass. And that's basically what you can equate this to, is Turkey managed to get off a lucky shot and knock the bully on their butt, which is how they view Russia. But they didn't realize they didn't hit him hard enough where he's not going to get back up. So my question is, doesn't that concern you? Because it concerns me. So what are we going to do? Because now we have a NATO member country that was attacked. We have another NATO member country doing the attacking. How do these things reconcile? What are we supposed to do with that information? Because normally what we would do is call the emergency session of NATO, put sanctions against whoever's doing things that are inappropriate, whether they're a part of the group or not, and there's not really any way to do that this time. There's just not. Because Russia's supposed to be our ally, Turkey's supposed to be our ally through NATO, which everybody knows is male bovine excrement. I mean, it literally is. I mean, I'm sorry, but it pretty much really is that simple. It's male bovine excrement. So, I mean, I don't really know what it is that we're supposed to do in this instance, because we've now basically, like I said, got a president who is leaving the rest of the world to fight and fend for themselves and pulling us back from the world stage while allowing all of the world stage participants to come here. It's a rather dichotomic situation to find ourselves in. I mean, let the irony of this sink in for a second. We basically stopped being Team America World Police and have become Team America Jesus House. Let that sink in for a minute. Oh, I'm sorry, since most of these refugees are Muslim, I probably shouldn't have said Jesus. Oh, dang, I did it again. I don't know what to do anymore, folks. I really don't. I watch the country seemingly falling apart in front of my face, and there's absolutely nothing that I can do about it. And we have a president who says, oh, we're going to contain ISIS. Now we're going to destroy ISIS. First of all, I'm not sure who's making your mouth work this time, whether it's Clinton or Jared, because, you know, Clinton's now been the one out pounding the stump saying, you know, this is what I would do if I were the president, and I would go after ISIS. I would not contain ISIS. I would destroy ISIS. Does anybody... And as far as the refugee thing, you know, she's like, oh, well, I would make a swift decision when it comes to refugees, and we would be fair. And anytime she starts mentioning how she would be fair, one of the first things I think of is Alien Gonzalez, you know, the little dude from Cuba, made it into Florida, got drug out kicking and screaming while her husband was president. So, sorry if you had a life-changing moment of some kind since the 90s, because you sure didn't seem to mind when Billy Boy was deporting folks. And this was a kid, a little bit. I mean, you talk about Republicans being afraid of widows and orphans. You freaking sent a little, your administration, your husband's administration sent a little kid away. But we have now Obama telling everybody that, oh, Republicans should be ashamed of themselves because they're basically afraid of widows and orphans. Can somebody please just tell that man to sit down? I mean, dude, you're a lame duck at this point. You have less than a few months before the vote is held that will hopefully unseat your entire party. So can you please just sit down and shut up? Not everything is about you, Skippy. It's really not. We're done worrying about you. You've done the damage. Now we're focusing on folks like Hillary, who want to talk tough while she left people to die in Benghazi. For God knows what reason. See, that's the thing that concerns me about Benghazi. It's a threefold problem. One, our government lied to us about the entire scenario and tried to blame it on a video that at the time my son could have done a better job, and he's only 15 now. Then we have the fact that not only did they lie to us and blame it on a video, why was Ambassador Stevens there in the first place? What was he doing that required him to be there? And once whatever that was went sideways, why is it no help was sent? Because there's a part of this, and trust me, I'll tie this all together in a minute because it goes back to this leading from behind thing. There's a part of this that I've never been able to understand. I am not a soldier, but I know plenty of people that are. I've spent a lot of my life with a badge and a gun on, so I do understand some of the concepts, the constantly being on guard, the always worried about who's coming up around you, not wanting to put your back to a door. I understand a lot of the different things that become ingrained when you spend your life in and out of potential combat or hostile situations. But one of the things that I never have understood are the reports that they could tell that one of those people, those brave people that apparently defied an order and went to save as many civilians as they could, were holding a laser range designator on a target. This isn't a laser pointer. It's not one of those things where you push a button and automatically the laser comes on and it paints the target and you pray that somebody gets there eventually to use it. The stupid things won't even activate unless there's a weapon system somewhere in range. So there was something there that could have helped them. And there was a decision made somewhere that stopped that from happening. So this is, again, another example of America leading from behind. It's going to get every single one of us killed. Which is why I started the show in the same way I'm going to end the show. Why in the hell has this president not been impeached? We sent a message to a man who got a blowjob in the Oval Office and lied to the American people that that is not the behavior that we condone of a president. And yet this man lies to us every day, and he's lauded as a hero because of it. You tell me that we're not living in a twilight zone. You go back and you look at all of the different scandals that have broken under this president, and you tell me that it's not time for a change. I don't know who that change is yet, but I know who it's not. It is not going to be Donald Trump. Because if it's Donald Trump, I'm going to have to take out a loan and buy an island. I know where they sell them cheap, and no, I'm not telling you. Very simple. Whoever gets the nod from the Republican Party had better have what the American people need first and foremost as their guiding principle. We don't need much. What we need is freedom, life, liberty, and the ability to pursue happiness. Whatever that may be, as long as it's not legal or harmful, or not illegal, sorry. Somebody got really happy. He's like, did he just say I could? No, that's not what I meant. I meant illegal. Come on, it's like 12:15 on the East Coast. I'm usually done by now, but we got a late start. So bear with me. So, we need somebody who puts liberty first. We need somebody who puts freedom first. We need somebody who puts the ideals of the American people first. This president does not do those things. He doesn't even understand what those things are. He spent the majority of his formative years in the company of terrorists and academics. Come on. How much more blatantly crazy does this have to get before people understand exactly what we're doing? We have elected a ne'er-do-well to the White House. And I would be saying that whether we're talking about his black half or his white half. Because he's still a ne'er-do-well. And it shows in everything that he does. Because everything that he touches breaks. Everything that he touches breaks. Look at the mess this country is in if we honestly take a long, hard look. We have the lowest labor participation rate in 20 years or more. We have unemployment that would be completely off the charts if it wasn't for the fact that they've started changing how they track the numbers. It's crazy. It is completely crazy just how bad things are. And then we still have a president standing around telling the world ISIS is contained. There's nothing for you folks to worry about here. We have ISIS contained. Okay, I'm going to say this again, and then it's about time for us to get out of here. Containing ISIS is not the right strategy, because in their world, as long as they have the ability to control land, maintain land, and regulate the people on that land, you are giving them legitimacy. So again, Mr. President, you're either doing this because you're ignorant or because you want us to think you are. I'm going to say something that may or may not cost me listeners, and I don't care at this point. I have been fighting with something for the last 7 years, because there have been plenty of tinfoil hat extremists from day one that have told me that Obama was a closet Muslim and that he didn't have the best interest of the country at heart. And for about 6.5 years, I called every single one of them crazy. I looked at them and I said, there's no way that we could possibly have the 21st century version of the Manchurian Candidate in the White House. But as I look at everything that's going on around us and everything that has gone completely crazy when it comes to Islam in America, and the fact that this particular president seems to side with them at every given opportunity, no matter what the situation is. I mean, he's blatantly told us more than once, I will side with the Islamic people. That's fine, except that's not who you were elected to support and defend. So, it pains me to say this, and there are going to be people that are not going to like the fact that I'm saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm really starting to think that Obama is a Muslim, because he behaves like a Muslim. He's the only sitting president I've ever heard of that's had a Ramadan dinner every year that he's been in office. He continues to side with and forgive Muslim atrocities, siding with Muslim dictators, and forgiving those said atrocities, and stating that it's all because we don't understand the world that they're in. What I do understand is we're all human beings, and we have to be able to hold all of ourselves, whether it be together, alone, or other folks doing it for you, to a certain standard. And it is time that we hold Islam to that same standard. I don't care if it's only 20% or the vocal minority that's getting everybody stirred up. It's your religion. You deal with it, plain and simple. Because if I have to deal with it, then we're closing the borders, we're rounding everybody up that I think could possibly cause us harm, and we're going to make them leave. Unless they're here legally, and then we will figure out something else to do. But at this point, folks, it is about time for me to go ahead and get out of here for the night. We had a late start to begin with, so I'm already about 20 minutes behind where I normally am by now. So it is about time for me to hit the bricks. All right, this is America Off the Rails. This was the episode for Tuesday, November 24th, 2015. I'll be back with you hopefully live tomorrow night if I can pull it off, if I'm not doing honey-do lists all day for Thanksgiving, or all night for Thanksgiving. I'll see you when I see you, folks. Keep your powder dry.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? America Off the Rails has been declared a conservatives-only safe zone. Only conservatives allowed from this point forward. Any liberal, socialist, butthurt, hippie, tree huggers, please exit the facility immediately. Again, attention please. America Off the Rails is now designated as a conservative safe zone only. All butthurt, tree-hugging, hippie, free-to-be, you and me types exit the facility immediately. Thank you.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.